You guys enjoying Max? Yeah? What do you think of this new creativity twist to it? Yeah? It's pretty good, no? I think very inspiring also, the talks and the keynote this morning. All right. Okay, doors are closed, so nobody can get out. My name is Rufus Deutschler. I'm a worldwide evangelist at Adobe, specialized in the design segment. And in the next hour, what I want to talk to you guys about a little bit is how to create iPad apps using InDesign and the Adobe Digital Publishing Suite Single Edition. All right? How many of you already use that workflow? Okay, quite a few. Okay, so everybody else is here to see exactly how it works. I just have 3 slides that I want to show you. I'm not going to kill you with PowerPoint here, but there's some important things that I want to underline here. There's many ways to get your content to the iPad or mobile devices. There's ways to make apps with magazines and newspapers, catalogs, apps themselves, books. They're all different things, okay? And so just to set the stage here, DPS, Digital Publishing Suite, is what is being used to create magazines that you can have a storefront for, where you have a monthly issue that comes out every month, and where people can actually subscribe to the magazine and buy issues and things like that. Catalogs and apps are a different thing altogether as well, because they don't repeat regularly during time. And then, of course, we have books. And there we have to be very careful about deciding what technology we want to use to go to the mobile devices. Because if your content is too much like a book, Apple will probably tell you this cannot be an app. Okay, and then you will have to find other ways to publish that content. So it's very important before you begin to use a specific technology to understand what your content is, and then decide what the best way is to get the content to the iPad. And of course, there are also websites. So there's also web experiences you can create. And at Adobe and in Creative Cloud, we have all the tools that you need to go to these different routes. So you can create HTML websites, you can create HTML content with Adobe Muse, you can create EPUB, which is a standard for electronic books with InDesign. But that's a different thing, because you can publish that, for example, to Amazon or the iBook store. And that's HTML, basically, and some XML files that come with it. And it's a different thing than what we're going to do today. So if you think that your content is too much like a book, please think about other ways maybe to publish it to the iPad, because it'll be difficult to go through the whole thing. And then there's a few notions that I want just to go through before I continue, because these are 2 words that I'm going to be using quite a lot in this presentation: articles and folios. A folio is a combination of various articles, okay? And articles can be single InDesign documents, all right? So each column here is a single InDesign document, all right? And the InDesign document can have pages of long pages or a sequence of pages, and we will see how these also behave once you start building your app, all right? So the articles is what helps you then create the folio that will then become the app, all right? Are we all clear for that now? Now, there's 2 things that you need to actually create an app with InDesign. Of course, you need InDesign, and you need the tools, the folio producer tools, to actually create the folios, to add the interactivity on your InDesign document. And we call it the overlays panel, because basically what we do is take the content from InDesign and overlay interactivity on top of it. All right? That's why they're called overlays. So basically what we're transforming from InDesign into the app is a snapshot, almost an image, or a PDF also. That's depending on the choice that we make while we build the folio. And then the interactivity comes on top of it, all right? And we'll see a few of those things that we can do to add interactivity, to make the app an app kind of experience, all right? So let's escape out of this and start looking at what we can do in InDesign. Oh, the second thing, of course, I was talking about the Adobe ID. The Adobe ID is what lets you go into the system and create the DPS Single Edition apps. And as a Creative Cloud member, you can create as many of those apps as you want. All right, so there is no limit to it. So this is actually a very good value for Creative Cloud members, because if you go into the DPS system, it becomes much more expensive. And maybe another thing that I should underline is that single edition apps are single apps. Okay, so if your content, if you plan your content to be a new version every month, maybe you should think about Digital Publishing Suite. Okay, instead of the single app, because the single app is one app that you will then publish to the iTunes App Store. So what I still forget about the second point that I wanted to make. So the Adobe ID you need, but you also need an Apple developer account. Okay, because with the Apple developer account, you will be able to create the certificates that are needed to create the app. All right. Why does the app need certificates? Because Apple wants to certify that first you are the content creator, and it also wants to certify what devices you can preview or preview the app on. So you can add devices into your Apple Developer Center and say, okay, I want to distribute the app to these 10 iPads so that my colleagues can look at them, use them, and really use them as an app. Okay. So these are two things: Adobe ID to get into the system. This is the same Adobe ID that you use to register your Creative Cloud apps, and then the Apple certificate, the Apple ID to actually get into the certification process. All right. This is something that I cannot show because if you subscribe to that developer program, there's a whole bunch of things that you have to tell Apple. I cannot show that on stage, so this is not something that I can show. But I have to say that in recent months, Apple has been working very well to make it easier for users to actually create the certificates. There's some. We will see what certificates you will be needing, and I will be using those certificates to actually create the app. So what I've done here is I've just created a few documents that will showcase what type of interactivity you can actually put into your single edition app. And of course, the first type of interactivity that you may want to add to your app is interactivity with hyperlinks and buttons. And in InDesign, basically what I did here, I simply created a text frame with the text centered in the middle that looks like a button. And then, if I go here and I move from advanced to the digital publishing workspace, we get the tools that we need to actually start working on that document. And the two tools that have been added to InDesign at that point are the folio overlays, the overlays that add interactivity to your document, and the folio builder, which is the application that we're going to be using to take the various articles and create the folio. Okay? And then we're going to be using that panel as well to actually create the app. And Digital Publishing Suite Single Edition actually came out in Creative Cloud, I think, last September, quite a long time after we launched Digital Publishing Suite, for the simple fact that we spent a lot of time trying to make that process easy. All right? We didn't want to make it complicated, because how many of you have an IT department behind them that can help them? Oh, quite a few. Okay. So, but would you want your IT department to go through all the hoops and loops to create the certificates and things like that? No. So Single Edition is really the easy way to create an app from InDesign to the iPad. So there's a few ways that we can add interactivity here. One is using the hyperlinks panel. And of course, that is under Window. And we go here into Interactive and Hyperlinks. And all I have to do is enter into this, having the text box selected, for example, I will go in here and say www.adobe.com. All right? And if I hit enter, this hyperlink goes in here and has been applied to this object. There's nothing more that I have to do to it. And of course, there's also a way to use buttons. Buttons are cool because when you touch a button on the iPad, it can change color, for example. Okay? The simple hyperlink is just a hyperlink. So you touch it and something happens. A button has also some sort of a user interactivity to it. And for this, we're going to use the Buttons and Forms panel. If I go here, we see that I can choose the type of element that I want to create. Of course, we want to create a button. But you see that we can also create a whole bunch of things for PDF documents. This is something that I will be showing tomorrow. But in this case, we're just going to create a button. We're going to name the button. It's very important. Like this is something I always repeat. You know, name your layers, name your colors, name your symbols, name your buttons. Wow, good. All right, so we're going to name it hyperlink. Very generic, hyperlink. Okay, come on, Rufus, you can do that. Hyperlink. Okay, and then on release or tap, that's the event. All right, that I can choose from, but you can see that I have other events like on click, on rollover, so even if the finger goes over the button, something can happen. On roll off, if the finger leaves the button but still touching it. But what I want really is on release or tap. I hate the on click action because I want to have the ability when I touch something to decide otherwise and just move the finger away and not go there. All right, so if you do on click, for example, I'd simply touch it and it goes. All right, so this is something that I don't want. So I'll say release or tap, okay, and then I need to add an action. And there's quite a few actions that we can add to buttons here, but the one I want to add here is go to a URL. And again here, I will put in the Adobe website, www.adobe.com, all right, and I'm done. At that point, I can also change the appearance here. And the appearance is how the button looks in the various states. So the appearance that we're concerned with on a touch device is really the rollover state, right? Because rollover is when my finger actually touches the button. So to change the color of that button, for example, all I need to do is to click on rollover, and you see that the state has been created automatically. And at that point, I can then with the object selected, go here to my swatches panel and make it, maybe let's make it a RGB yellow. Oh, no, that's, no, RGB magenta. Is that good? Is that nice enough? It's not nice, don't. But let's leave it like that. And at that point, we have the normal state of the button and the rollover state of the button. All right. At that point, we need also to define a few other things. And this we do in the folio overlays. If I open the folio overlays panel, I'm going to go back here for a second, but you've noticed that the folio overlays panel recognized automatically that I'm working on a hyperlink. All right, so it showed me everything that I need to know about the hyperlink automatically. But just to have a quick look at the folio overlays, we see that we can create hyperlinks, we can create slideshows, image sequences, we can add audio and video, and if I go down a little bit more, we can add panoramas, web content, and all of these interactive things. I mean, most of these I will be showing you today. But in our case, we just want to add the hyperlink. And the cool thing that we can do here is decide whether the hyperlink opens in your app, because there is a web browser in the app itself, so you can open the hyperlink, the HTML file inside of the app itself, or you can also say open in device browser. So on the iPad, that would be, of course, Safari. Okay, so I can launch the web experience in another application. So let's make this one open in the folio, and let's make this one here open in the device browser. But because we're very polite, we can also say ask first. All right, so when somebody touches on it, there will be an alert coming up saying, do you really want to open that page in the device browser? And you say yes or no or cancel. Okay, so we can say ask first. Perfect. And that way, we've created these two hyperlinks. So instead of going through all of these elements and showing you immediately how they work in preview, I will begin working on the other things as well, and then we preview everything together, okay? All right, another thing that we can do is create image sequences. And basically, an image sequence is a whole bunch of images that can be swiped through, okay? So what I did here, let me just show you that. I created an image sequence here. Let me just open my image sequence here. And I created that in Photoshop. So let me open that in Photoshop CC, just to show you what, what I've done on this image. And basically what I've done is I have animated if I go here in the Layers panel, I've animated a mask. And what I wanted to show in this image sequence is this. Let me just play it for a second, is how I've adjusted the image with some adjustment layer. Okay? I've actually used the new Camera Raw filter on the image to make the image lighter. Okay? And then I've animated that by using the, that layer mask. And basically what I want to do here is to actually have my user be able to swipe through the image with the finger and go from one state to the other, and having that image move exactly the way I have in this animation. So I'm going to play it again. All right? And this is what I've created. And then, instead of exporting a movie, what I've done is I've exported an image sequence, a sequence of many different images. So what I have in the end is this. If I'm just going to go into preview here, and you can see that as I go through the images, these are, I don't know how many images right now, 93 images, okay, of this thing happening, of the finger going through the images themselves. All right, so let's use this for a second. Let's go back to InDesign. And what I will do is actually create a frame by using, let's make an empty frame here, and place it here. And then in the folio overlays, you see, the folio overlays tells you already automatically what it is you can do with that selected frame. So for example, here I could put in the image sequence or create a panorama or add web content. So in this case, what I wanted to do is to add an image sequence. So of course, what InDesign now asks me is, where is this image sequence? So I will simply open that folder and go here into my DPS folder, and I will go to the image sequence and take the sequence folder and open that. All right? And I have my image now here, and I'm going to just rescale it slightly so it fits in my layout. Okay, something like this. And actually, let's make it right up here to the little ruler here. Okay. Then, in the case of image sequences, you can also tell the app to autoplay the content. That means that if you get on the page, the content can start autoplaying. So this whole motion thing can start happening automatically. And I can say autoplay, and I can even say autoplay, but after maybe 5 seconds. If the user doesn't get it, that there's an arrow there that he can pull out, well, just make it play so that the user sees, oh, something is happening. And then when the user taps on the frame again, he can then start using the finger. And here I can define the speed of the sequence, how many times I want to play it. I can also say to stop at the last image or loop that animation. So there's really a whole bunch of things that you can do using that technique. In the past, in our Adobe demos, we've used the image of a bicycle that you can turn around. Okay, we put the bicycle on one of those round things and took a shot of the bicycle, just turning it by a few degrees every time. And then if you make the image sequence, simply by going with your finger on the application, well, you can go through the whole sequence of images and turn the images around. Let's say tap to play and pause. Let's do that as well. And then, of course, what we also want is swipe to change the image, all right? And stop at first and last image. We want that as well, because we want the user to come to the end of the animation and then come back to the beginning simply by swiping. And then I can also define whether I want to play that animation in reverse. All right, so maybe if you've made an animation that suddenly you realize that, oh, the images are in the wrong sequence, they're all backwards, you can choose from there, no, let's make them play the other way. So play in reverse. So very good. We've done that. Okay. So we've added this type of interactivity here. And then we can also create slideshows. Slideshows are a collection of images there that you can go through. And what I will do here, I will simply get my images from the Finder here, from my folder. I have a few images that I've been using in, let me see, where did I put those? Oh, maybe here. Okay. Slideshow. Okay. And what I have is just a few Instagram images that I want my users to go through, okay? Just like a normal slideshow. So what I will do, I will take those images, all of them, let me close this, and simply start dragging them, and then command tabbing back to InDesign. I can let them go here, and what I have now is, of course, my little place gun, and I can go through the images, define which one I want to place before the other, if needed, and then what I want to do in this case is actually start dragging, and simply by using my up and down arrows or my left and right arrows, I can define how many images I'm placing in here. Okay, so they're mostly squares. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something like this, and I've placed these 6 images. And let's say I don't want the 7th, so I'm going to escape out of that and get that image out of the way. So once I've done this, what I can also do, of course, is go in here and say that I want to fit the frame to the content, okay, so that the frame really sticks to the images themselves. And then the other thing that I want to do here is to actually align them. And now the screen here is a little bit too the resolution is a bit too low, so I need to go here into Object and Layout, Align, and I will simply align the images on top of each other, okay? This is how we create the slideshow. And then I will place my slideshow, make everything a little bit bigger, with everything still selected. Opla, no, I need to actually Command, Shift, and then make it bigger. All right, let's place it into the layout like this. And then there's an extra step here that I need to do. And if I go here under Interactive, what I want to create is this object states object. And basically what this does, it takes all of these 6 selected images and creates one object with them that I can then use as a slideshow. All right? So to do this, all I need to do is go in here and say convert selection to a, let me just read it the correct way, a multi-state object. Let's do that. And we see that in this multi-state object, we now have these 6 images. And I'm going to call this one, like naming everything, gallery. And this is all I needed to do. Now I can close this, and if I go now to my folio overlays with the gallery selected, it already knows this is a slideshow that I want to create. So I can also say here autoplay after, let's say, 2 seconds in this case. I can choose the interval between the images. I can define if they're looping or not. But the really nice thing is that I can also crossfade between the images. So it's not simply like going from one image to the other. I can have fades through the images, which makes it much more elegant, let's put it this way. And then, of course, because it's for a touch-enabled device, I will say swipe to change the images, all right? So that my users can go through the images and swipe through them. And then I can also here say stop at first and last image so that it doesn't loop infinitely, so that people don't get confused. I know I only have 6 images, but if you say stop at first and last image, it makes it easier to understand that we got to the end. And then we're done with this element as well. So we've just created a slideshow. Then audio. Audio is as easy to add as to simply drag and drop an audio file into InDesign. And to do that, I will simply go here to my assets here, and let me see if I can find my, oh, here we go, all right, my loop MP3. Let me see if I have audio here. Otherwise, I'll use my, no, I don't see any audio cable. Okay, I completely forgot about that, but let's use this. All right, so if I place the audio file, does that come through? All right. So that's just a loop that I created and that I want to use in my in my DPS file. So all I need to do is to take that MP3, go to InDesign, and simply let it go. Just like an image, something like that. And then if we go over here into my, where is it? The Folio Overlays panel, it actually tells me exactly, let me just make that slightly bigger, because we're going to need that bigger. It tells me I'm working with an audio file, okay, audio and video. In this case, we're using an audio file. And there's some cool things that you can do with audio files. You can actually create controller files. Basically what that means, if you just place the audio file, if I touch the audio file, the sound will play. Okay? But there is no way for your user to understand how long this sound is or how much time is missing until the end of that sound. Okay? So what I've done, I've used Illustrator and Photoshop to create a series of images. And basically what I've done is these PNGs. All right? So I've created a series of PNGs. Let me start with the play button here. Okay? Just a musical note so that when you touch it, it starts playing. And if you then go into the other ones, like this one, okay, see, I've created this little animation that tells me how much time is missing until the end of the audio clip. Okay? And all you need to do is then save those images as audio 01 to how many you have, play, and audio pause. Okay? So basically what I'm using this button for is if my user touches it, the audio pauses, and it also pauses the animation. And if I click it again, well, if I click it, if I touch it, it'll then become this sort of button. And then if I press on it again, it'll play the sound, it'll continue playing the sound. All right? So these are the play music files that I've created, and these are called the controller files. So let's just tell InDesign where those controller files are. So they're in here, in my assets, in my articles here, in my links. Come on, get away, bar. There we go. And play music, and open that. All right, so here's my icon now. And this is what will actually be shown in the app. And when we start using it, you will see that this pause button works as well. And again, like the others, I can decide to auto-play the sound and give it a delay, and also play in background across Folio. That means that if that music is launched, even if I change article, the music will continue playing. So you can give your users the sense of that the music is following them in the whole app that you're creating. All right? Okay. Video. Video is pretty much the same. It's you have to prepare the files. Let me just go back in here and close this and go into my links and find my here. That's an MP4. And this is a time lapse that I've created that I wanted to put in here. And we also have music in that video. Okay. And this is the video experience that I want to put into the DPS app. So again, I will take that video, the MP4, go to InDesign, and let it go here, and just place it. In this case, what I've done is I've really made sure to create the video the exact size that it needs to actually fit in my layout. So I've used I've used the video tools to actually make it the exact size that I wanted to actually fit inside of my layout. Because if you start putting in a big video and then reducing it, basically what you're doing, you're just wasting a whole bunch of space. And remember that your apps need to be downloaded, right? So if you make a big video, it's just wasted space inside of the app. And people don't like downloading heavy stuff, right? Am I right with that? All right, so let's optimize the stuff that we want to use. And in the case of video files, there's a few interesting things that we can do. Still in the interactive menu here, we have the media panel. And basically what the media panel allows me to do is to actually preview the video inside of InDesign. Okay, very interesting panel here. I can say to play on page load, to loop to loop the movie. And I can also choose the poster. The poster is the image that will be used in your layout and in the app to represent your movie. So I can go through my, my movie here and say, oh, maybe I want something that looks more like in the night. Let me see here. Oh, it's still caching, something like that. And I say, let's use this as a poster. So I would say from current frame, and this image now becomes what is inside of my app. But I can also use other posters. I can create a whole different file, like a Photoshop image of the same size, and use that as a poster frame. So maybe I created a Photoshop document with maybe one of the images of the movie and some text that says, click me to view the video or something like that. Okay? So you can use other poster images as well. All right, so let's close this. And if we open the folio overlays again, we see that automatically it recognizes that this is not audio. This is now video. And I can define the autoplay. Let's do this. And again, put in here, let's put it 3 seconds. I can define whether the video stays in the layout or if it should open in full screen. Let's actually say play full screen. But before I do that, you see that I can tap to view the controller of the movie. The controller basically is the timeline of the movie with the bar progressing and the ability to actually go back in the movie, to pause it, to play it. I can allow it not to pause. Do not allow pause. I wonder why I would not want to do that. Yeah? Anybody has an idea of why I would want a movie not to pause? Okay, there you go. That's a very good idea. The answer was if I have an intro to the folio, like on the cover page, and I don't want people to be able to stop that video. I want to go through the whole 10-second or 10-minute experience that I've put on the cover. And I can say stop at the last frame. All right, so again here, very easily, I was able to put in content in here and start preparing the app that I'm working on. And the last content, I think, no, I have 2 more, is the panoramas. Basically, panoramas are 360-degree experiences. Basically, what you normally do to create such an experience is you take a fisheye lens and you take images horizontally, so to get everything around you, and then you take an image from the top and an image from the bottom. All right? And then there is software that will actually stitch those images together. And then what we need for InDesign, we need that 360 panorama, which normally is a sphere that you can turn around. We need it as a cube. Okay, so there's a little application that I use, which is called, let me see here, Pano2VR. Basically what that does, it takes the panoramic image and transforms it into the cube elements that I need. Let me show you this. If I go back here into my assets, we see that what I have here are images, 6 images, all right? The bottom, the top, and then left, right, behind, and in front, okay? And these 6 images I will now be using in InDesign. So let's go back here, and this is the panorama that a friend of mine from South Africa created. His name is Eric Kors. And basically, this is a game reserve. I don't exactly know where that game reserve is, but let's show you how that works. And in folio overlays, I will now go here and say, this is a panorama. So let's open this. I need to tell InDesign where the images are. So load images. And let's go back into my folder and take the, here from the links. Come on, little bar, go away. There we go, links, and panorama. Here's my 6 images. So let's open this, and the images will now be placed in here. I can very easily go back in and resize those. I can also make them transparent, I mean not so that users can't see them, and maybe have a panoramic image on the whole background of the page, so that when you click on it, the panorama simply opens. This is one of the few moments in the DPS experience where you actually have a viewer opening on top of your page. Okay, this is not something that you experience inline or inside of your layout. So here, what we can do is we can decide whether we want to use the first image as a poster or any other type of image in the background. And then if you want to go really into depth of how your user actually opens the image or views the image, you can even define the initial zoom into the image. Okay, so now right now by default it's 70. I can also tell exactly where the viewer starts viewing the image, at what angle, vertical, horizontal, and also the field of view of the panorama. Because remember, it's a panorama, so I can decide how much of the panorama I see before I actually start navigating it. And then, also very interesting, is that I can limit the vertical and the horizontal pan. Why would I want that? Maybe I don't have the full 360 panorama. Okay, so maybe I only have 180 degrees in front of me, and I don't have the images for the back. So from this panel, I can decide that when my viewer gets here, it doesn't go any further. All right, and the same here, no further. So it's still an immersive experience, but I can somehow limit what my user sees. And then one of the things that I find very intriguing and interesting in this whole DPS process is that you can add web content to your document in InDesign. So there's many ways that you can do that. I've used Adobe Muse, for example, to create little web experiences that I would then put into my InDesign document and have them embedded in there. Or you can create animations with Edge Animate CC or Edge Animate and export that as an OAM and import into InDesign. So you can create HTML5 animation that will work on the iPad. But what I will do, I will simply select the container here that I've prepared, and I will choose web content for that. And then, in this case, what I will do, maybe I will put my own URL, rufus.deutschler.net. Oh, let's not forget about the HTTP. Okay, 2://. Okay, and again, I can define whether the web content auto-plays. In that case, it's a good idea to have auto-play for the web content so that it gets loaded right away when the page opens, instead of having to ask the customer to actually click something to load the page. 0-second delay. I can have the transparent background for the HTML content that I'm placing. I can scale the content to fit. And I can also allow access, the one I was looking for, allow user interaction. Okay? So basically, the user can then start pushing buttons and links in my HTML page that I have put inside of my app. All right? So that's a whole bunch of interactivity that we've created in these InDesign articles. So there's now a few ways that we can actually preview those. But before we can preview them, let's move on to this other panel here called the Folio Builder. And what the Folio Builder does, it signs in using your Adobe ID into the DPS system. And basically, if you're not signed in, here from the menu, you see I can sign out, I can sign in. I can create a new folio. Let's do that. Let's create this folio. Let's call it Session Folio. Okay. And I will tell it exactly what the target device is, because this is important for the resolution that will be exported from InDesign. I can say Apple iPad. In our case, DPS Single Edition is only for the iPad, so this is our only choice, Apple iPad. And then, you see, I can also define the orientation of the document. Of course, what we've done now, we've just created the horizontal pages, or the pages of the articles. Of course, if I want my users to be able to turn their devices and have the experience as well in a vertical format, I could do that very easily, also using the tools available in InDesign CS6 and InDesign CC to create the alternate layouts. Okay? But we don't have time for that today. But you get the idea that if I have two different layouts, I can actually turn my device and experience them in different ways. So what we have here is a landscape-only portfolio. You see I can also choose portrait and landscape or only portrait. So this is also a decision that you need to take before you actually start creating the folios, because this is something you cannot change afterwards. You need to create a new folio if you suddenly decide, no, I want both orientations. You need to create a new folio. Then I can also define the default format for the content. I'm going to leave it on automatic, but interestingly, we also have the PDF option here. And basically what that means, if I use the PDF export option, it means that the pages are zoomable. Okay, how many of you have seen DPS apps where you can't zoom in? Quite a few, right? And that's because it's image-based, and we don't want you to zoom into the pixels. So now we've come up with this idea of having you be able to actually export that as a PDF, and a PDF is resolution independent because it's based on PostScript, right? So that's also a way to export it. So let's say automatic. Then I can define the quality of the images that get exported, and I can add the covers. Now there's a whole bunch of things, and I will simply walk you through that. Let me go here and go back to my assets here, and where do I have those? Icons and splash screens. What I've done is I've created some splash screens or cover images for the vertical and the horizontal version of my application. Okay, and that can be anything. That can be just like the cover of I will not say a book because I just told you don't make books with DPS Single Edition, but of your application. All right. So this is basically what I could be using to actually create the cover for my document. So I would click here. Let's take the cover for this. Let me go back into my DPS folder here and go into the icons and splash screens. And I need, this is the vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Let's use this one. Open. It's in here. Let's also use the horizontal and open and done. All right? And then I can also create an offline folio, meaning that I'm not actually uploading it to the DPS system. I'm keeping it on my machine. Okay? Keeping it on my machine, there's no limitations to that really. Basically, it means that you can't actually publish it from your machine, all right? But you can preview it on your device. You can preview it on your desktop. So let's say OK to this. And there I have now my folio. And if I open that folio, you see that InDesign tells me, click Add Article icon to add or import articles through your folio. So it's as simple as, let me just go back here to my first one, to add an article. And remember, the articles are the columns that I've shown you before I started the presentation, and add open InDesign document. Okay? And I'm going to give that a name, of course, because here it becomes important to name your things, because these names will actually be used in the table of contents and things like that. So, let's get used to actually naming stuff. So I'm simply going to call it hyperlinks. Okay? And article format, JPEG quality, let's say OK to this, and let's save the file. And what it does now, since I'm creating the folio not offline but online, is actually sending everything to the system and starting to build my folio, to build my app with the articles that I'm adding to it. So let's do this. I could do that for all of the articles, but I've prepared one here, which I call DPS SE Max. Let me open that folio, where I've added the hyperlinks and buttons, the image sequence, the slideshow, the audio file, the videos, and everything. And if you click on the thing itself, you see that it already creates a little preview of the page that we've created. And this is kind of important for the table of contents that we will have in our app. But another important thing for each article, when it's selected, is to go in here and to actually change the article properties. And basically what we do in here, we give the article a title, and this is really the one that will be in the table of contents, okay, in your application. We can give it a byline. For example, I can say this article was done by Rufus. I can have a kicker. A kicker is a one-phraser that simply explains what the content is, and a description which can be a little bit longer. And these two buttons here are also important to understand. Advertisement means that it will not show up in the table of contents, okay? Because we don't want a table of contents with all of the advertisements. And this one below does pretty much the same thing. Maybe there's a whole article that I want as a surprise in my app, that I don't want as something that people can access from the table of contents. So I can actually hide it like that as well. And then I can also define how the page scrolling and all of these things work. So I'm going to say OK to this. Now it's updating the content. And what I will do now, since I have all of the articles open, and I will go back here to my DPS SE Max, I will simply say, where is it? No, it's not here. Wait, come on, I can do it. Okay, I can select the articles and say simply update the articles with the new stuff that I've just done. So basically what it does, it uploads all of the interactivity that I've just created with you today, okay? All of the images, the movies, etc. Maybe I shouldn't have done that because it's going to take, no, it's done something, all right? Image sequence, all right, let's just have it go through that. But okay, while it does this, let's see if we can actually preview stuff. No, we can't do nothing. We pretty much have to wait now for this whole process to happen. So basically what it does, it just sends everything it needs up to the digital publishing suite, and so it makes it ready for us then to create the app, which will be the last step that we do here today. All right, this is pretty boring, so I'm going to have a drink. This is where you would walk to your coffee machine. Yes, please. An image sequence, how can I define that? An image sequence is really something that you would slide through with some sort of an animation. It's almost like a stop motion animation, okay? So, and the slideshow, I know you probably would be able to do a slideshow with the image sequence, but yeah, I don't think there is a real like intrinsic difference, but yeah. Yes? Like a movie, for example, like block the movie from being exported. No, you can't do that. So my advice for that would be to work with placeholders until you have the footage ready, and then upload that to the system. Does that answer your question? Oh, no, because the app is a closed thing, okay? So it contains everything that the user will actually see, except for HTML content, of course. If you have external HTML content, so maybe if you link to the videos otherwise through HTTP, for example, then it wouldn't load the video. But your user would have to be online to actually view the video. Still processing here. I don't even know if I can escape out of that. Let's see. Escape? No. All right, so the image sequence is probably the bigger one. Come on, you can do it. And while we do that, maybe we all get a little bit. Yes? Come on. I simply said, well, to start the process, you create the folio, and then you load the articles one after the other. But because I didn't have time to do that, oh, okay, there's an error. I don't know what that error is. Uploading article didn't work. But you know what? Good. Let's just leave it like that. Let's just close this and go here. And I just wanted to show you how you can preview these things now. And basically, to preview them, you have this little preview button here. And if you go into preview, it opens the Adobe Content Viewer on your desktop. Okay, so that's the first way to actually preview how the things work. And you can see that if I click on take me to adobe.com, it says me open in browser or not. Okay? Or this one, if I touch it, it should change color. No, it didn't. Okay, and it goes to Adobe. Okay, wow, that was a lapsus. Let me see this and go here into my. Wait here. I have to change that. This is horrible. This is like. Let me go here into my interactive and hyperlinks. Adobe.com. Oh, it's the other one. Oh, yes, of course. This is scary stuff. So let's go back here into the buttons and forms. And yes, of course, it's right here, and we can change that. Okay, let's make this very clean. All right. Okay, so this is one way that you can preview the things. And of course, the other way, if I go back into my folio builder here, if I actually select the whole, let me just go back, come on. Let me just, come on, I can do it. Let's just go back into, because it's selected. Oh no, sorry, in the folio builder, I was in the wrong panel. Back to folios, come on. Oh, something went drastically wrong here. Let me do something quickly. Yes, I'm going to close that, and let's not save this. And don't save, don't save, don't save, don't save, don't save, don't save. Thank God I had a B plan here. So let's say here, let's go back into InDesign, reopen that, and the folio builder should launch. Yeah, I could have done that, absolutely. Yes, yeah, yeah. But as you know, as long as your iPad is connected to the machine, and if you have on the iPad itself, let's take this folio here, and if I open on the iPad, let me actually go just here to share my screen a second, and I will go here and actually share my screen on here and mirror that. And escape out of this image, you will see that if I have the Adobe Viewer open, okay, the Adobe Viewer is the free viewer for the iPad, I can then go in here into my folio builder and actually say preview on device. That was very fast. Let me see if I can do it again. But anyway, we will see now in a second that it took the whole folio information and it's creating a little package that that will open on my iPad. Something it's doing. Let me just come on. If I press here, no, come on, we can do it. It's about 60 megabytes, but it should be pretty quick over the wire here. Oh, loading preview. Okay, come on, you can do it. It says here, loading preview. But I think I broke my document somehow. Yeah. Look, let's open this. Can I open? Yeah. Okay. So this would be the same document that I was working on before with, you know, the touch-enabled button here. No, it's not touch-enabled. Oh, the image sequence is empty. Ah, God. Come on. Let me see if I can do that again. Oh, because I didn't save them. All right. Okay. Let me just go back to InDesign and show you the last bit. Okay. And then those of you who don't believe me can come to me afterwards, and I will show you. Let me just go back here into the folio overlays, and no, in the folio builder. And basically, then all you need to do is to go into the menu and say Create App. Okay, and that's the beauty of DPS Single Edition. And what it will do, it'll take the information it has on the. Let me get rid of the iPad here for a second. Let's actually just quit out of this. Okay, and this is where it all happens. This is the DPS App Builder. And you will see that it tells you register as an iOS developer, log into the iOS Developer Center to create the certificates, and most importantly, download the step-by-step guide for Single Edition. And this will really show you step-by-step everything that I've just shown you and how to create the certificates, how to put them together, and how to create the app. So let's continue with that. And there I would give the app a name. Let's call it DPS Max. And I can also, this I'm not gonna use, but I can say whether the PDF zooming is enabled. I can define what language is shown in the App Store next to your app. So if you do a multilingual app, you can say it's in French and German and Italian. You can choose those languages here, so that users see in the App Store, you know, what languages are available in there. So let's say next to this. And then we have to add all of the splash screens and icons for the app. And that's also quite simple. What I've done, what I typically do with these, is I actually create the Photoshop document with the largest size. Let me just open that with Photoshop CC, okay, the largest size, and then I use Save for Web several times simply by changing the size here, if I need the 50 by 50 pixels, and export that as a PNG and create all of these icons. If you like Photoshop Actions, there's also Actions out there that will take your image and just export all the different sizes that you need to have the icons made. So let's do that for a second. Let's take the 2929. Let me go back here in Design DPS. Let's go here. 29. You know, I named them with their pixel size, so they're really easy to find. I'll go in here. Which one does it want? 50. OK. And then this one is 72. And the portrait splash screen is vertical. This one, open. It puts it in here. The landscape splash screen, that's always a difficult word to say, splash screen. And then there's also the optional 512 pixel artwork, which I've created, so let's just put it in. And all of my things are OK now. And it says for the standard iPads, I have everything I need. All right? Let's do it for the HD iPads. And there the icons are, of course, a bit higher DPI, so 58 and 100 by 100, 144. Let's do the splash screens. That was vertical, yes. And let's do the horizontal, high DPI, and the optional 1024. Here we go. So now the HD is also prepared. So let's say next. Is something missing? Oh, I got the wrong one here. Ah, it's an intelligent little thing. All right, so let's say high DPI. No, horizontal. Come on, you can do it, Rufus. No, which one was it? This one. Horizontal. Okay, next. No? So which one did I get wrong? What? It's a what? Oh, thank God I have you following me. So let's say landscape splash screen standard is horizontal. No? No, that was right? It's this one. This one. Okay, now I'm all confused. I'm working standard, and I want the landscape one. Okay, yeah. Portrait. Okay. Yeah. All right, so is this one correct? No, which one did? Help me. This one. 5. You. Can you tell I'm colorblind? It makes everything more difficult. Okay, now we need to put in the little certificates. And the certificates I've prepared here, and this is the last thing that we need to do. And what it wants is the developer mobile provisioning file. So developer mobile provision, which I've created using the Apple certificates and things like that. And then I would say the distribution mobile provision, which is this one, and I say open, and I say next, and at that point it says, oh, you're almost there. Now I have my little icon here, but before let's just say create app, and at that point it takes all of that information and creates the app. And then at the end of that process, we go in the management window, finish, okay, we go into the management window here, and while it's working here, I will show you what you will get. You will get a developer app, a .ipa, that you can download to your desktop, and using iTunes, you put on your iPad, and you have it there as an app, okay? And depending on how many iPads you've registered with the Apple development, account, you can actually give them to more iPads if you need to. And then the distribution app. And this is the app that you will actually upload to Apple. Okay, it's zipped, it's all done, and that's where you would use Apple's uploader to actually put it in the system, and then you have to wait. It takes a few days, and then Apple comes back and says, great, it's been published, okay? Or no, it's been rejected because such and such a reason, okay? So then it starts, this whole other process starts, all right? But as you've seen, except for the little glitches here. It's actually very easy to create an app using your InDesign knowledge, adding interactivity, and using DPS Single Edition to go through these very simple steps to actually create an app. And let me just show you one last time on the iPad itself what I actually got from it. Let me just go here into Reflector and start sharing my screen again. All right. And what I have here is a fully functioning app, all right? Here, this one here, all right? With the icons that I've created, okay? And if I open it, it'll actually show me the app itself. And I have my slideshow, I have my image sequence. Oh, now, come on, rotate. Doesn't, maybe I should say, come on, rotate. Wait, you get it. Let's see. You see, with my finger, I can now go through the image, and that's the image sequence. All right. I have my interactivity in hyperlinks. So if I touch it, the color changes of the button. Okay. If I go out, it doesn't do anything. If I touch it, it just simply goes online to adobe.com. Right. And then the other things that we have. The audio, which I really like. Come on, play. Oh, because the volume, come on. It's paused. How cool is that I can create? Yeah. Pause it. The video, the same. Okay. I can tap it, and I have the controller down here. I can pause it, etc., etc. I have my 360 panorama, and this is probably going to make you feel sick, but this is how I can navigate through the 360 panorama and close it. And come on, close it. And the interactive web content, all right? And the cool thing is that in this post specifically, I have an Edge Animate page that I can load into my HTML. And this is an experiment that I did just using Edge Animate. You know, you cannot depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus. So that makes sense today in the Creativity Day, all right? And that's by Mark Twain. So as you've seen, really the process is something that you can do very, very quickly. Create the app, create the InDesign document, use Digital Publishing Suite Single Edition, which is included in your Creative Cloud account with your membership, and you can create as many apps as you want. So with that, my friends, I wish you good luck with your apps, and I hope you found this session interesting and stimulating. Thank you. Let me just take a quick picture of you guys for my... All right.
If you choose to embed Muse stuff, is it tied to being linked online, or is that actually embedded?
No, it's embedded.
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
embedded.
So if no. You can create entire websites in Muse and have them wherever you want. So yeah. No. Maybe for forms, yes, because forms require a back-end thing. But if it's HTML, no.